Working with the Racket squad, I thought I knew all the angles. Every dodge a clever bunco artist could ever invent. But in this case, a girl played all the old angles and added a few new ones all her own. In fact, she played one angle too many. So that's what I call the case. It all started out of a clear blue sky, with not a dark cloud in sight. Certainly the most innocent-looking place you could imagine, a public park. But here comes trouble, although at the moment she calls herself Betty Jane Lewis.
Isn't he a darling? What's his name? Or is he a she?
Tommy Thorne.
Tommy Thorne, isn't that cute? How old are you, Tommy?
He's 10.5 months.
Honestly? Well, he's awfully well developed. Look, he smiled at me.
He seems to like you.
Goodbye, Tommy.
Oh, it's all right. You can pet him.
I hate women who rush up to babies and scare them to death.
You seem to have experience with children.
Mom had 9, and I was the oldest, so I practically brought up the little ones myself.
9 children. One seems to be about all I can handle. Well, Tommy, we better scoot along home now.
Well, let me carry those for you, Mrs. Thorne. I'm just out for a walk. It's so nice talking to someone. Oh, that is, if you don't mind.
Oh, no, not at all. I just live a little way from here.
Mrs. Thorne didn't have to tell Betty Jane Lewis where she lives. Betty Jane already knows. But now she's being formally invited to enter.
Just put those things down anywhere.
What a simply beautiful room.
This desk was my grandmother's. And this chair's over 100 years old. Someday we hope to have a home that'll be worthy of them.
I'm afraid I envy you just a little bit, Mrs. Thorne. But when my husband gets back from the army, we'll have a place of our own, too. And maybe a young man almost as cute as Tommy. Well, goodbye, Tommy. Hope I'll see you in the park tomorrow. Maybe you'll think I'm out of my mind, but it just struck me. Seemed like a wonderful idea. Only, you've probably got a regular.
A regular what?
Babysitter.
Oh.
And I'd love to do it. I know about babies.
Well, I know you do, but...
I'll give you my number.
But we very seldom go out.
I do it for nothing, of course.
Oh, I couldn't let you do that.
I'd love it, honestly. I get so lonely sitting there in that noisy boarding house, trying to believe that Jim will really be back soon. But if I were here, in this pretty place, with this wonderful baby.
All right. I'll take your number. And maybe I'll call you this weekend.
Of course, Mrs. Thorne thinks it's a wonderful arrangement. What woman could resist a bargain like this? Plus the fact that she can do a favor for a girl who has the good taste to admire her baby and her apartment. Yes, Betty Jane can go now. She's accomplished what she came to do.
Take it easy, Lenny. I'm going as fast as I can. In a month, I'm already the big friend of the family.
Well, let's cash in on it.
All right, I'll try it tonight. Maybe they're ready to snap it up. Listen, I think I hear them coming. Have Frida call me here in 10 minutes. Okay.
I'll bet that guy gets more mail than Santa Claus.
Oh, hello. I didn't hear you come in.
Hello? Oh, yes. Yes, just a moment, please. For you.
Me? Only my landlady knows I'm here. I told her to call in case it was a telegram. Hello? Yes, Mrs. Wilson? Oh, will you read it to me, please? What was that date again? The 18th? darling, Mrs. Wilson. Thank you. A 10-day leave. He'll be in San Francisco on the 18th. Why, that's just 2 weeks away.
Oh, isn't that wonderful, Betty Jane?
I'll bet he'd rather stay out there and just read your letters. I'll take a quick shower and then drive you home.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I can hardly believe it. 10 days in San Francisco. Why, it's like a second honeymoon. Only I never had a first.
Now, I'm the one who envies you.
While I'm still here to look after Tommy, you ought to take a few days off. Drive up to Monterey, where we had such a good time last year.
Well, it would be wonderful, but
And Fred looks tired. I didn't want to say so, but he does.
he has been working awfully hard lately.
You could stand a change, too. You ought to do it before I go, because I may stay up there.
All right. I'll talk to Fred about it.
Fred thought, with a little persuasion from his wife, that it was a pretty good idea, too, to take advantage of Betty Jane's free service before she left. So there they go into the wild blue yonder, leaving Betty Jane in sole possession. Well, maybe not in sole possession.
Are you crazy? Coming here before they're even out of sight?
What's the difference? They're gone, aren't they?
I told you not to come until noon.
I couldn't wait any longer. Well, now, that's better. Miss me?
But it was best to be careful.
Is the baby?
No, dear, it's a two-legged goat. Haven't you ever seen a baby before?
Not this close.
Isn't he cute?
I guess so. Nice place we have here.
This is 2,000 years old or so. And in this room is a bed in which George Washington once slept.
That man sure got around.
Well, I've been thinking. Maybe this is an extra angle we can play.
Don't bite off any more than you can chew.
There's no sense in not making the most of an opportunity. Might as well play all the angles. Oh, well, that isn't important now. Did you get all the dope on Elliot Henry?
Yes, he leaves his house about 9. He's in his office all morning. Lunches about 1:30 at Marino's. Leaves the office about 4:30 and goes to his club. Say, this kid looks like he understands everything I say.
Smart baby.
Sometimes he has dinner there, doesn't spend any more time at home than he has to. This is a picture of his wife.
No wonder.
Saturday he has lunch at his offices and leaves about 3.
And this is Saturday.
Wait a minute. You're not going to leave me alone with this.
Call Frida and tell her to come right over.
I hope Mr. Elliot Thomas Henry enjoys a good story, because the one she's got ready to tell him is going to cost him plenty.
Ellie! How wonderful to see you again. How are you? Oh, you don't have to answer that. You look simply marvelous.
Well, so do you. It's a long time since last we met, Miss...
Almost 2 years. Only, I'm a missus now.
Are you? That's very nice.
Oh, I was hoping your heart would break just a little when I told you. I must confess, I wept a few very salty tears when I saw the announcement of your marriage last fall.
Did you, Betty Jane?
For a moment, I thought that you didn't even remember my name.
How could I forget as pretty a girl as you are?
All the girls you went out with were pretty. And they were all crazy about you, just like I was. I do hope your wife isn't jealous of you the way I used to be.
She has nothing to be jealous of.
Well, it's been heavenly seeing you again, Elliot. I've thought of you so often. And all the wonderful times we used to have together. Remember that night after Barry's party when we drove out to your place at Malibu?
Wonderful.
I don't believe you'll remember at all. I suppose it's sentimental of me, but I still have one of your darling letters. I keep it in a book pressed with a flower that you sent me. It's written in your big, bold, dashing handwriting and signed with your full name, Elliot Thomas Henry.
I hope your husband isn't the jealous type.
Oh, you mean if he read it?
And then I take it he is the jealous type.
Oh, no. But maybe I had better bury the past. I'll tear it up when I get home, I think. Before Fred, that's my husband, gets back from San Francisco.
This is my car. Let me take you home.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, but I live quite far out, almost at the ocean.
I go right past. I'm spending the weekend in Malibu.
Isn't he, darling? His name is Tommy.
He's a beautiful baby.
Why shouldn't he be? His father is a very fine father. And Tommy may grow up to look just like him. What may I fix for you?
I've got to be on my way. But I was in hopes first that you'd show me that letter so that I could relive my youth for a few minutes.
I think that you're really afraid I'm going to use it to sue you for breach of promise. I keep it on the top shelf. That was a gardenia. You usually sent orchids, but you can't press an orchid. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Maybe I should tie a bell around my neck.
Fred, you startled me. Didn't you go to San Francisco?
Evidently not.
Oh, this is Elliot Henry.
How are you?
I just happened to bump into him in town, and he was kind enough to drive me home.
I've heard of Mr. Henry quite often.
Well, I was just about to hit the road.
Oh, were you?
Fred, aren't you going to offer Mr. Henry a drink?
No, I'm not.
You're being terribly rude.
I'm sure Mr. Henry is quite used to husbands being rude.
Well, goodbye. And I'm terribly sorry.
So that's the great Elliot Henry you've been in love with all this time. Too bad I don't go to San Francisco oftener, isn't it?
Don't shout like that. Frida will hear you.
Why shouldn't she? Probably everybody knows about it but me. The husband's always the last to know, isn't he?
It was idiotic of me to mistake the time you were coming to see the apartment. I wouldn't have been caught in a bath like this.
Well, don't you mind, darling. I'm just crazy about this lovely little apartment.
I'll have the lease ready by Friday.
Sooner, if possible. I can hardly wait to live with these adorable antiques. But I must be going and tell my husband about that wonderful old armchair.
Armchair?
Yes, the one that General Robert E. Lee once sat in.
Oh, that one.
Well, goodbye, and thank you, honey.
Goodbye, Mrs. Bennett. Well, he's been like a madman for 3 days. He sulks and won't talk at all, and then he flares up and yells at me. Oh, are you alone?
No.
I'm sorry. I mean, I hope I'm not causing you any trouble.
No, not at all, Mr. Thorne. Perhaps it would be more convenient if you'd phone me at the office tomorrow. Any time in the afternoon, Mr. Thorne.
Yes, maybe that would be better. Oh, he's coming.
How many times have we rented this place?
11. I was hoping we'd make it a round dozen. Certainly a bargain at $150 furnished.
Maybe we can. Mrs. Phillips called while you were out. Wants to look at it tomorrow. Then Mrs. Bennett called to ask if she could bring her sister over to see her new apartment.
Is that the southern one?
Yes'm. She always just crazy about this lovely little old apartment. Especially this lovely old chair that General Lee once set his lovely little old self down on.
Did you settle with Carson about the furniture? Is he ready to take it off our hands?
He won't pay till he's got it.
Well, he won't get it until he pays.
Well, I'll work on him tomorrow.
Which reminds me. Oh, if I'm going to play my big scene with Elliot Henry tomorrow, I'd better get my 8 hours beauty sleep.
Mrs. Thorne.
Oh, yes, I was expecting her call.
No, she's here.
Here. Ask her to come in, please.
Won't you come in, Mrs. Thorne?
I suppose I shouldn't have come, Elliot, but I was frantic with worry. I need your advice.
Yes, of course. Sit down.
Oh, I was a fool to keep that letter of yours.
He saw it?
Dropped out of the book and he read it. He wouldn't believe it was an old one. He said it's enough evidence to get him a divorce. It isn't, is it?
You mean he named me?
He raved like an insane man. He said he was going to your wife.
But surely if you told him that...
When he's jealous like this, I just can't do a thing with him. Once before...
What happened?
Oh, I had to go away for a while, and he followed me. In spite of the way he acts, or maybe because of it, he really does love me. When he began to miss me, he cooled off and came after me.
Maybe you'd better go away again.
Well, I thought of that, but this time I have no place to go. Mother's dead now, you know, and I haven't any money. He took everything out of our joint account. But he even... Look, he even took my rings.
Poor kid. Then you've got to let me help you.
Elliot, I didn't come here to beg. I came for advice.
Get away quickly. Europe or South America.
It's impossible.
No, it isn't. Now listen here, Betty Jane. You've got to think of my position, too.
I am. If Fred ever finds out the truth about you and me and Tommy... Oh, I'm so sorry to have dragged you into this.
Then you'll make it easier for me to get out. You have to go away again.
But, Elliot, you don't realize. A trip like this, with a baby, why, it would cost thousands.
Cost me more if my wife... I can't afford to have her hurt.
As angry as Fred is, I may have to stay away 6 months.
A year if you have to.
I'll do my best to pay it back.
It's a gift, not a loan.
I couldn't do that. But, Elliot, if I had nothing but luck, it may take me 20 years to pay back $10,000.
10?
Oh, it's too much, really. I can't do it.
As I said, it's a gift.
You're much too generous.
No, I'm just over a barrel. If I don't, my wife will leave me.
It would be terrible for your wife. I suppose I could go to San Francisco tonight and get a plane or a ship as soon as I can. Oh, Elliot, do you think you ought to make it out to me? I don't suppose your wife or bookkeeper would find out about it, but...
That's an idea. I'll go downstairs to the bank. You come along and I'll get cash for it. Then you can buy traveler's checks with it.
Yes, I suppose cash would be safer for both of us.
Betty Jane has shaken all the trees, and they've showered down the nice ripe fruit. Soon she can begin to enjoy that fruit. But first, there's a little item of equipment that she has to restore to the proper owners.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I began to worry whether you got my wire or not.
Tommy, darling, you look wonderful.
I hated cutting into your vacation like this.
Oh, and of course, you're real sore about Jimmy getting back sooner than he expected.
Well, I didn't know quite what to do about Tommy. I called, but they couldn't locate you.
Oh, that's all right. We're tickled to have him.
Oh, and he's been an angel. I'll miss him terribly.
Why don't you take him up to San Francisco with you? Make a nice surprise for Jim.
What are you doing?
Well, you've had expenses. There's been wires and extra train fare, and, well, we want you and Jim to have a big time.
Oh, Fred, really, I can't.
Board? On aboard?
Oh, we'll have a wonderful time, Betty Jean, and drop me a note.
Oh, I will. Goodbye, Tommy. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And goodbye, dear Mr. and Mrs. Thorne. You were easy trees to shake, too.
Rid of the kid?
No, dear. He stopped off in the club car for a cigarette. Of course, I got rid of him.
I didn't like the way that kid kept looking at me.
What's the matter? Was he a better judge of character than his parents?
Where'd you get that?
Some kind man forced it on me. In fact, so many kind people have been forcing money on me that my arms are all black and blue from being twisted.
How much?
50. It's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick, isn't it?
Yeah. What happened to the 10 grand you got from Casanova?
It's right here. What happened happened to the $3,000 you got for the furniture?
Right here.
It's wonderful how we trust each other, isn't it?
Well, I'll trust you this much. Half of what we took in on deposits.
Bad, eh? You see how it pays to play all the angles?
Angles are all right, but I like the curves. What's so funny?
Oh, I'd love to see the expression on their faces when they walk into that empty apartment.
Their expressions hadn't improved much by the time I saw them a week later. Is that the woman who showed you the apartment?
I don't know. I'm not sure at all that that's the woman. When she showed me the apartment, her hair was done in a bath towel, and her face was so shiny with cold cream, I could almost see my own reflection in it.
An excellent disguise. She used that dodge on all the others. She's a very clever operator. Probably spent months working out the details of her campaign, such as imitating your signature, Mrs. Thorne.
I just can't believe it.
I can't either. She was so sweet and helpful.
She was. She helped herself to everything in sight. Didn't she, Mr. Henry?
Honey, did General Robert E. Lee ever sit in that chair of yours?
Well, I don't think so, but General Grant might have.
It's dreadful. Simply dreadful. The lies that some people will tell just to rent a little old apartment.
The department is very anxious to round up these two and at least get part of your money back. Are you all ready to prefer charges?
Certainly.
Well, naturally, if that's the only...
Well, I, for one, intend to prosecute this case. General Grant. Huh.
How about you, Mr. Henry?
Will that be necessary with all the others filing charges?
Well, these are separate charges. You see, in your case...
I prefer to remain anonymous.
As you like. Anonymity sometimes comes high. If you want $10,000 worth...
Maybe I should write it off to experience?
Then I won't ask you to stay any longer. The reporters will be here in a moment.
Thank you.
Well, we got the rent deposits back for Mrs. Bennett and the rest of the depositors. Thanks partly to a good handwriting expert. And we got the furniture back for the Thornes. But by the time we caught up with Leonard and Mrs. Betty Jane Lewis at the racetracks at Buenos Aires, most of Elliot Henry's gift was spent. Oh, there was some of it left, but since Mr. Henry didn't change his mind about prosecuting, it went into the pockets of a very incompetent lawyer who had promised Betty Jane he could get her off on probation. Betty Jane had complete confidence in him because he seemed to know all the angles. But he, too, tried one angle too many. So you'll be free from her for quite a while. But remember, there are lots of others like her. Our files are filled with the records of a lot of other victims. An easy directory to get your name into, because it could happen to you.